Okay, welcome, Dr. Ben, to the Biohacker Babes. We're so happy you're joining us. This was going to be a brother-sister duo, but your brother's doing some good work, so you're here representing the both of you as SmileBody. Thanks for joining us today.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you guys. You guys are just doing amazing work getting the right message of health and wellness out there. It's an honor to be here.
Amazing.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Yes. So I've been so really like inspired sharing a lot about biological dentistry, and especially in the last year working with Dr. Pampa, who you are very good friends with. And there's a very intimate connection with SmileBody and the Pampa program. And our audience knows about biological dentistry. We've had our dad and Dr. Don, but this is a message that still needs to be shared because people are still not aware of it. And I see it every day with clients coming into Pampa program with X, Y, and Z, chronic fatigue, just pain. I had one client in particular, she saw like literally every possible specialist you could possibly see. And after she got her dental issues addressed, everything went away. But the
Wow.
problem is a lot of people are not making this connection between the mouth and the body,
Yeah.
which is where biological dentistry comes in. So to kick off, I would love to hear your definition of biological dentistry and like, what are we missing here? Why do people still not understand this connection?
Well, I mean, intrinsically, I feel like it only makes sense, right? It's one of those things that nowadays, as we are all kind of I feel like there's such a huge momentum in our community of health and wellness for moving in this direction of understanding that human beings are not cars. We can't just go and treat them like, oh, the wheel is bad. Let's change the tire, or let's the carburetor's down. Let's just fix that. We are a beautiful system that everything is connected, and the mouth body connection is tremendous. And I am still amazed. I mean, honestly, how much, as you know, as a biological dentist, we'll get into that, but you have to keep evolving and keep learning. And I'm still amazed about this connection all the time, not just because of my patients, but new research that comes out, new training that we do, which we'll probably get into as we talk about this. But so your question is about biological dentistry and kind of like what is our definition?
How do you explain it to someone? Because, I meet clients all the time and they're like, never heard of that. Or sometimes I have clients that are conventional dentists, and that's a fun one trying to explain biological dentistry to them. So, what is sort of your pitch? How do you explain the practice that is biological dentistry?
Well, number one, like we're talking about, the mouth-body connection is tremendous, and we believe that everything is connected. So, and the thing is, the teeth and the body are connected in so many ways. Obviously, it's connected through the blood, through the lymph, through the nerves. That we know. I mean, that's not woo-woo science. It's obvious. But there's also, of course, meridians. In biological dentistry, we focus on meridians as well. And for people in the audience that don't know what meridians are, you have heard of acupuncture, and if you have a back pain or neck pain, the acupuncturist is going to put some needles in your hands and your feet, and they're like, why are you putting needles there? It's because these natural energy lines go throughout the body, and these energy lines get blocked for different reasons, and we'll probably get into that in our conversations. Different things that are done, different kinds of dentistry block meridians, different materials that are used, different treatments can block a meridian. Infections block meridians. So when there's a block in a meridian, guess what? An organ system can have problems, and it's related not to that organ. I have a crazy story about a Pampa patient from New Mexico. Actually, on that note, I just have to share it. We haven't gone over the full definition of biological
Yeah,
dentistry,
go
but
for it.
we're talking about this. This patient, New Mexico, beautiful lady, for 20 years, she had heart palpitations. And these heart palpitations would not go away. She went to cardiologist, to cardiologist, to cardiologist, and nothing. So she went to the Pampa program, and the Pampa program, connected her with us. She came in, we did a full assessment. There was major infections in the back molar area, and the third molar area is aligned with the meridian of the heart. And when we cleared those infections, it was an amazing sight. That day, the day of the surgery, her and her husband were in tears just because of the fact that she was not feeling those heart palpitations anymore after 20 years of searching for a solution. And she still comes in every once in a while and I check on her and she's doing well. And it's just an example of how important this connection is. So we are, yes, the connection between the mouth and the body is a big part of it. You look for root cause of problems instead of treating symptoms. We look at the specific materials, like I was mentioning, so important. You can't just use any material. We avoid metals, we avoid certain treatments that are so mainstream. I don't do root canals anymore. It's not my philosophy. I used to. I got a lot of training in doing it, and I did them a lot because I felt like I was doing my, patients, justice by saving their teeth. But I don't believe in that. And you look at nutrition, you look at the microbiome, you look at really a reason why, what's happening. And so this philosophy, it's so natural that when you talk about it with someone, it only makes sense. It's hardest to talk about it with people that you have to unlearn what you've learned before. That's where the resistance comes from, as you guys personally know. So, but otherwise, it just makes sense. Everything makes sense more. So,
Especially
Yeah.
with something like wisdom teeth, because we're taught, oh yeah, wisdom teeth come in as kids, you take them out. Like what? You
Not
don't
a
do
big
anything
deal.
else. Not a big deal. And now we know any extraction, which we can get into, but it's like simple things like that, not even just mercury or root canals.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, something that our dad always talks about is how the mouth is one place on the body where almost everyone has had something done to, right? Like if you're in a room with 1,000 people and you say, how many people have had knee surgery or back surgery, right? But if you say, how many of you have had dental work? Probably like 99% of the people are going to stand up, right?
I mean, it's very rare when you find a person that has never had a filling of any kind at all, never had wisdom teeth extracted. And I do this a lot of my lectures. I mean, you've been to one before. A lot of times I'll ask people during the lecture, how many people have had this, raise your hand or stand up. And it's pretty much across the board. It's very rare. I mean, patients come into our office every day when someone has had nothing done. It's only because a product, of course, there's a reason for that. As we know from Weston A. Price's research, that there's a reason for why our society has this disease where we're dealing with gum disease and cavities and wisdom teeth extractions and crowded teeth, and why we need all this treatment. There's a reason for it. It's not meant to be that way. It's not just because we're all just supposed to have braces or we're all supposed to have wisdom teeth taken out. It's for, and for the viewers that don't know about Weston A. Price, he was a dentist in the 30s. And he was a researcher, and he went to villages across the globe, and he found indigenous people that were not exposed to this toxic food pyramid that we've been exposed to in our lives. And what happened was he saw that these people had beautiful arches, full of strong, healthy teeth. They were not always the cleanest. They didn't necessarily brush and floss or anything like that. But guess what? They didn't have cavities, and they never needed braces, and they didn't need their wisdom teeth taken out. And they were healthy, happy people until the Western diet came into that environment to make things better, which ruined everything. And unfortunately, when he would go back to these plain places, these same villagers were now dealing with infections and dealing with pain and dealing with crowded, misaligned, deformed jaws. And deformities are due to this unfortunate demise in our nutrition. That's happened over generations now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will say like, oh, I
American
brush and floss. I don't know why I have anything wrong in my mouth, because there is so much underlying. Great point about nutrition.
Yeah. So let's talk about metal in the mouth with maybe we can start with mercury amalgam fillings, because I'm still hearing from people that, oh, my dentist said don't take them out. It's more dangerous to take them out. Just leave them in. Or there's mercury in them. My dentist said they were silver fillings, which you wouldn't want silver either. But yeah, tell us about that, about mercury amalgam fillings, what you're seeing and why it's so important to have them safely removed and why you don't want to leave them in.
Well, the key word is safely. Renee, obviously, I am a big advocate of not taking them out unless you're making sure you're doing it safely with someone that's certified and trained. quite honestly, not only for the sake of you, but also for the poor practitioners. I took out mercury fillings inadequately and in just the way I was taught in dental school for half my career, and now I've been trying to clear that heavy metal toxicity as a result for many years now. Now, mercury is the most toxic, material on Earth, other than
Radioactive, yeah.
radioactive materials. But and the reality is that they put this in these amalgamation of different metals to make fillings because there was only gold before and people couldn't afford gold. But they knew back then. They knew back then it was not. It was a neurotoxin. The whole Mad Hatter cartoon was related to this topic, and he was mad because those people that wore those top hats had there was a lot of mercury toxicity associated with those. So this is a known thing from back then, and it's something that they call them silver fillings because they look silver at first, and it sounds nicer, like a piece of jewelry. It's called them silver, but reality is they're super toxic, and it's not something that it's controversial at this point. It's something that is proven. Just go to YouTube and look up the smoking tooth or any endless amounts of research that is apparent. That what they taught us in dental school is that because if you mix these metals, there's no mercury release from them is totally false. And research done on and we can rub these mercury fillings, and anytime it's being rubbed, whether you're brushing, you're eating, you're grinding your teeth, mercury is being released, and it's adding to this heavy metal toxicity. And of course, one of our mutual friends, Dr. Pampa, it was a classic case of heavy metal toxicity of what he was going through in his life. And when he was sick, and he ultimately, that's one of the reasons why he's such a big believer in biological dentistry, because he realized the impact that it had on his life, this heavy metal toxicity from these mercury fillings. And when he was able to clear that from his body is when he started feeling well again. Now, our goal in our world of biological dentistry, of course, is never to put these toxic materials in the body in the first place. Of course, and our bigger goal is to get it off of the shelf so that dentists aren't even putting them in, because actually in the United States, they're still putting them in, although other countries, they have banned them. In Russia, as of the 70s, they were banned. In parts of Europe, they're completely banned. Actually, I think as of 2025, all of Europe, it's been banned. But it's a sad truth that in this country, we are still putting these for kids, for pregnant women, for adults, for everyone, and we are setting them up for a future of health problems, mental health issues, all kinds of neurological issues, Alzheimer's, dementia. There's a lot of, you can keep going. But the reality is that, yes, you have to be, if you are going to get it removed, you have to do it the right way. And it's something that is super toxic. In fact, one thing that you guys probably know, but not probably most viewers don't know, is that there is a law that these mercury amalgam fillings, when you do drill them out in every dental office, it cannot go down the drain. And these amalgam mercury materials have to be separated, and it's called an amalgam separator, so that it doesn't go down the drain, because it's horrible for the environment. In fact, the number one source of mercury toxicity for the environment is our mouths from these mercury fillings. And and so they have this regulation that we can't actually let it go down the drain. But there's no regulation on putting them in or drilling them out, and that's all okay, which is crazy. But you know what? We have a momentum in our direction. Thank God we have the fluoride in 2 states is now outlawed, and the next, I'm telling you, on the list is mercury fillings. Just you watch. We're a group of us biological dentists are really making a push on legislation on that, and we want to make sure that we start going in that direction. And it's just an obvious choice. It's like we can't keep going like this. So
yeah, it's crazy.
So thankful for that movement. So thankful for dentists like you that are doing that, but also educating the patients so they know what to ask for, because a lot of people still don't know, like you said, with the separation, but somehow it's safe in the mouth. But I love the Mad Hatter story, but that was not a time when we had EMFs, Wi-Fi, we're drinking hot coffee all day long. So what about like all these modern variables that kind of add fuel to the fire? What do people need to know if they have amalgams currently?
To your point, Lauren, it's modern variables and ancient variables, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Obviously, metals in the body there's no place for them in the body because of the inflammation they cause, the heavy metal toxicity that we just talked about, and what you just mentioned is the modern technology, the EMF, the electromagnetic frequencies that are all around us, with all this wonderful technology that's around us that makes our life easier and more convenient. Unfortunately, is making us unhealthier. The 5G 4G, all that, and there's wired towers, this headphones that we all have on in general, and you know, all that. Well, guess what? When you have mercury, it's actually been proven when you have your cell phone against your face, actually there's more mercury being released. And in fact, any metal in your body, you're acting as an antenna. So now when you have metals, whether it's even wired braces, when you have these metals in your body, you're now attracting as an antenna the EMF to your body instead of blocking it. So for me, I mean, that's another big reason why we want to be metal free. And there's no reason for it. There's just better materials we can use for anything that we would use metal for. And now there's an alternative for it that's better. But the other component of metals, and I talked about the ancient component, is that meridians, like we talked about, the true AI, ancient intelligence of meridians. We know now that when you have metals in the body, that's also a block in your meridians that causes health issues. So whether it's heavy metal toxicity, block in your meridians, attracting EMF, there's no reason to have these metals in our body.
Would you say titanium implants, the same thing? It's the meridians, it's the EMFs, the inflammation, anything else with titanium that's a problem?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, they're not all titanium. It's not 100% made of titanium. It's just the number one, but it's as far as the number one ingredient by far. But there's other metals in it too that are not such high noble metals like titanium. But any metal in the body is not good for all those reasons. I did countless titanium implants. Right now, the only implant I really advocate for is a ceramic implant, and specifically a brand called SDS, Swiss Dental Solutions, which is my personal favorite by far. They're head and shoulders above the rest.
Yes, and that's what I'm getting. So that's so good to hear. Yeah, so the audience, some of them know I was in a really bad accident in 2003 and I lost two teeth. Although a traditional dentist would have just done two root canals on the damage, but our dad fortunately stopped doing root canals in 2001. So he was like, we're just going to take the teeth out. All that was available back then was titanium, which is why I got them. But I got them out. Now I'm trying to regrow a little bit more bone before I can get the fancy implants. So super excited. Oh no, we lost him.
Sorry about that.
Okay. We're
Back in action.
Okay. Um,
So titanium. Well, I'm kind of
Titanium.
curious because when I share this with Pampa clients or with our audience, people go, well, I have titanium in my knee or my hip or my ankle. Do I need to get that out? I'm like, well, I don't know that there's other options, but at least I feel like the mouth is a much more serious and complicated area to have those metals. What would you maybe say to that?
Well, number one, I think the medical industry is going to be following suit more and more. There's going to be zirconia, actual plates, and so on and so forth for different parts of the body. Instead of metal. It's going to this again. The momentum is in our direction for sure. Now, again, as I've been learning more and more, and again, the human body never ceases to amaze me. I just did a training with this amazing doctor. His name is Simon Yu, and he works with meridians, and he does meridian assessments where he checks your meridians for blockages. And he's in St. Louis, and I went for 4 days with a group of doctors and got trained with him. He's a world-renowned guy, and we learned more about meridians. But what we could do with with some technology out of Germany is where we could check actually tooth by tooth these meridians. And a dental implant we could actually measure the amount of block it had on the meridians, and it's amazing. And it's something that it's no joke. And these metals are not supposed to be in our body. I can't say it enough. We're not meant for that. Obviously, our goal is to get to a point where you don't ever need a root canal or don't ever need a dental implant. But trauma happens, accidents happen. Even for the healthiest people in the world, no matter what, things can happen. But yeah, my goal is to at this point, well, obviously prevent it. But if you do need it, number one is ceramic, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why you wouldn't ask for that at this point. And what about with the ceramic? Is there any blockage of the meridian?
No, there's no measurable block with the meridian with ceramic. And
Awesome.
not to mention the most biocompatible material we can use is the ceramic implant. So
Okay.
whether it's a filling or crown or a dental implant, that's the cleanest material you can use.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so good point with the fillings. So I think it's more expensive to have a filling, a ceramic filling, correct? So if someone maybe can't afford that and they want to get their mercury fillings out, what would you recommend they replace it with? Obviously something biocompatible, but all these fillings now are filled with plastics, right? So what would you recommend?
There are a few brands out there, you have to just search for it as a dentist, that are BPA free brands. Instead of using microplastics in there, they have micro pieces of glass as the main ingredient in there. So they're BPA free. So you have to just be cognizant of that. You have to look for it. And as a biological dentist, you have to do your research, and you can't just do what everyone else is doing. And if you are, then you're not a biological dentist. Sorry. So you have to actually do your research, look for the better products, and use those, whether it's ceramic or BPA-free composite resins. So
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay,
absolutely.
excellent.
Yeah.
I want to turn and talk more about infections that I find, at least in Papa clients, a lot of times people are not symptomatic, but once they go do a cone beam scan or ultrasound, they find infection, whether it's in a wisdom tooth extraction or root canal area. What can you say in terms of like what people may experience that is not necessarily a feeling in their mouth? Of course, we've talked about the systemic connection, but what could be hiding in the mouth in terms of infections?
Great question, because so much. So we associate a problem in the body with pain.
Mm-hmm.
Some people
Yeah.
don't go to the doctor unless they have pain, right? If I'm fine, you're functioning, I'm fine. There's no problem. But in reality, even you don't have to be a biological dentist. You know that, for example, gum disease. You don't have pain when you have gum disease. This is a process where when there's an imbalance in your oral microflora, the balance of your bacteria in your mouth, that really important bacteria, that's probably the second highest volume of good bacteria in your body after your gut. If there's an imbalance there, you end up getting problems. So you can get cavities, but definitely you get inflammation in your gums and gum disease. Now, gum disease, we know it's a systemic issue. It's not a tooth issue. Yes, it causes tooth problems because you get bone around your teeth going away. And this is something that's taught in dental school. This is not, definitely a biological dentist thing, except it's aligned with how we think in that when what's happening here is affecting everywhere. Now, when gum disease is happening, you don't have pain. That's why patients will a lot of times go for 20 years or 30 years. I have patients that come in. I have been to the dentist. I had a bad experience when I was 10 years old. I'm fearful, and nothing's hurting. I just sometimes people complain about bad breath. When we take scans, we see there is traumatic loss of bone, and where they have loose teeth, but they're not having pain. And this process called gum disease causes tooth loss, but the bigger issue is the systemic effect linked to heart disease, linked to all kinds of other health issues. For example,
Neurological.
neurological
Yeah.
disorders,
Alzheimer's,
arthritis,
Parkinson's.
Alzheimer's. Yeah. So this is not something that is off the beaten track of medicine or dentistry, and you have zero pain associated with it. So this is something that's obvious. Now, there's other ones like infected root canals or something else called cavitations that you guys are familiar with that most dentists aren't familiar with, that I wasn't familiar with because they don't talk about cavitations in dental school. But there is hidden infections as well that can be leaking toxicity into the body, adding to your toxic load, also blocking meridians, causing other health issues in your body, but are not associated with any pain. So pain is not the driving force for anyone. It shouldn't be the driving force to really get an assessment with someone that's trained and look for these hidden infections on a cone beam CT scan.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know if this is true. I've heard that typically when there's more pain, sometimes they're not as bad because your body is actually trying to fight it and there's inflammation there versus no pain. Sometimes the infection is just off the charts. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
well,
at all
you can
true.
you can think of what I like to compare a infected root canal. You know, a tooth that it's dead and dying and decaying in your jaw, which is a root canal tooth, right? We've cut off the blood supply, the nerve supply, the lymph supply. It's a dead, decaying tooth. It's turning black. It's turning brittle. And in dental school, they taught us that it was called. It's not dead, but it's non-vital. Okay. Well, either way, I think it's a decaying organ in your body. And, you know, it's a great short-term solution if you're in extreme pain to get the nerve out, to stop the pain in that very moment. Sometimes it makes sense for, let's say, a young child that you want to get the nerve out so to control the situation until later on in life to replace that too. There is a place where I can imagine, but also very commonly there is bacterial leaking from these teeth that are hidden infections like we're talking about. And when there's a hidden infection going on, it's like a leaky faucet. This leaky faucet can be dripping slowly. It could be dripping fast. So it might be you might have many leaky faucets in your house and you didn't even know because you don't see it dripping. Or in this case, you won't feel it actually causing pain. But what we do is when we do a cone beam CT scan, we can see the damage to the jawbone in much more detail in reaction to the infection. Now that's an important thing. We see the hole. We see the hole in the jawbone where the bacteria has been leaking into the jawbone and creating a hole in the jawbone. And when this happens very consistently, we see it around these root canal treated teeth. And when what we do, obviously, then is we can evaluate and see how bad that infection. Now, if it's a very fast leak, like imagine a stream is coming out of that faucet, then the jaw will flare up and you'll get swelling, you'll get pain because your body can't compensate for it, to your point. You know, you can't, it's having a hard time to overcome the amount of bacteria that's leaking from that tooth. But a lot of times it's just a slow leak that you don't notice and your body is just under this stress. The immune system is under the stress of trying to deal with it all the time. And at times maybe you're sick and it'll hurt because your immune system is compromised. Or other times, you know, it'll come and go. They say patients will say the pain will come and go because your body is trying to compensate with the pain. But it's you know we're not fans of this treatment, obviously, and it's a controversial topic. But we are, you know, if someone in my office, I always let them know these are your options. This is what my perspective is. And if you do want to do it, there's an outstanding root canal specialist in the community. I'll refer you to there. And I'm not going to do it anymore. I had extra training in doing a root canal, so I used to do them all the time. But I'm not going to do it anymore. I'll just say, you know what, you can go to the specialist and they'll take care of you. But because obviously,
Good for you.
yeah, I mean, that's just the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the patient decides, and that's a tricky conversation. People go, "You're telling me I have to pull my tooth out?" But maybe if it's in the back, it's easier to sacrifice. But what if you have a root canal in the front tooth? That's a really hard decision for people to make.
I'm a big fan of not telling patients to do anything. So I always tell patients,
Yeah.
you know what, I'll give you information. In fact, we have pamphlets with a lot of research because there's a lot of research behind all this. It's not a matter of my opinion. So I like to inform our patients. In fact, I encourage them to be their own health advocate, which means that you're in charge of your health. I'm not in charge of your health. You shouldn't listen to me or any doctor if COVID taught us anything. You should not be listening to any doctor blindly. You have to be actually doing your own research, please. In fact, anything I tell my patients that from my opinion or what I'm showing them on their scan, I give them material to research. I say, go and research this. Don't do it because I'm telling you to do anything. In fact, I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just giving you this information for you to learn and research this. And then you're the driver of this bus. This health journey you're on, you're the driver. I'm here to support you, but I'm not in charge of your health. It's my honor and pleasure to help, but I'm not in charge. So you have to make your own decisions and be educated in health and wellness. And we're so blessed in our office that we see so many patients. They find us. You know, they are people that have done a lot of research, whether they're patients from Dr. Pampa or that did the research and found him and then found us, or other integrative doctors that will refer to us. Or they just, they're searching. Nowadays, people are looking for information on the internet and find and learn and go to podcasts and do, like what you guys are doing. People are learning, and that's why your guys' role is so tremendous in this movement. You guys are educating people so much. It's making it such a big impact in people's lives, what you guys are doing. And so many times people come in, I saw something on a podcast, I heard something on a podcast, and now they're in our chair to learn more. And so it's a pleasure and a privilege to be in that position to be able to help.
It is a team effort, because I feel like we just have decades of poor work that was done that we got to catch up on so we can get back to just working on prevention. Right?
But it's exciting. It's so exciting time right now. It's exciting times. It's really, you feel it, right? It's just such a momentum right now. And oh my God, especially everything with Bobby Kennedy, what's going on right now. And that was huge, obviously. But we're so excited about what's happening. But again, another thing I see is more and more leaders in the industry are coming together. The wellness and people in the leaders in the industry in the wellness world of different kinds are all coming together. And for us at SmileBody, our concept is collaboration, and for us, so it's so beautiful to see the collaboration of minds and bringing people together to actually make a difference in the health of people as a collaborative approach, not just one doctor by himself, a cardiologist or whoever else it is. It's a collaborative approach. So it's beautiful to see.
Yeah, we definitely need more of that. And yeah, our dad has said he's seeing, like, now he has patients come in and they're like, my doctor thinks I may have a cavitation. Like 20 years ago, that would never happen, right? Like there's definitely a huge momentum right now. So
a dentist said that to someone? Wow.
Integrative doctor.
Integrative doctor. Okay. So
in Maryland, who she treats a lot of very, very sick patients, a lot of Lyme patients. And she'll like always just send them, like, you got to get this checked. So it's exciting to see.
That's one of my goals actually, is actually working with open-minded doctors, whether it's MD or NDs or DOs or whoever. These are all different kinds of doctors, right? And if you're open-minded to keep learning beyond what you were taught in school and what you're told, if you keep researching and learning, what happens is that you start realizing these connections. And for me, when I was speaking with the head of the Naturopath Society for California, and I was introduced to her, and I was telling her about what we do at SmileBody and what, as far as biological dentistry and otherwise, and our philosophy and protocols. And she was blown away. She had no idea. She had no idea about this world. And she's a naturopath. She's the head of the Naturopath Society. And she was so excited. She said, you have to come speak to our group at our next conference. The other naturopaths have to understand what's going on here. And I said, you know what? Think about it. If the naturopaths are still blind to this right now, we have our work cut out. You guys have your work cut out. Getting the message out like we're doing right now is part of my main goal, is to get more and more like-minded professionals on the same page so that we can together make a difference and make America healthy again. Really, I mean, that's what we're trying to do, right? Get people on the right track again to redo this damage over generations that's been happening right now. So So it's something that I feel like it's just this is my path, and this is
Mm.
your path, and we're all here doing our part as a team, and it's so exciting to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it really is.
I
I
mean,
couldn't
there's
agree
just
more with that because I'm just thinking about naturopaths. I'm like, they do all these root cause protocols, maybe trying to kill fungal infections. But what if that's been driven by the amalgams in your mouth? Or maybe there's Lyme hitting in an infection in your mouth, but they're just like constantly giving you supplements. I'm like, where are we going to land? This has to be normalized. It's just a very essential part of that health journey, like no matter what.
yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
think about how much money people are probably wasting on doing all the detox protocols and gut cleanses and supplements and perfect diet and sleep. And it's like you've got an infection or mercury or something. Like, I love what you said about the leaky faucet analogy. It's
Mm-hmm.
like everyone's just throwing all these towels on the floor, but no one is turning off the or fixing the faucet.
That's exactly the right
Like,
analogy.
yeah.
I use that analogy that you just said all the time. It's like when there's a broken pipe in a room and there's water coming in, you can't just put towels on the ground. That's exactly what I say. You have to
Oh,
go and shut the water. So
yeah.
that's my favorite analogy. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so again, what the good thing is that again, I'm super excited because there's so much good happening right now and so much positivity. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
going in the right direction. It just happens to be that I was drawn to to build our center, and I think it was a spiritual thing, to be honest with you guys, to create this. And it was so many things had to happen for us to create the center that we did last year. And I felt again it was something that it was alignment, and it was such alignment happening. And as it was happening, all the beautiful people that came into our lives that helped make it happen. And now I feel that SmileBody is just a part of it. That we're doing our part, and as we team up with wonderful people to that are have this same goal, we're have more and more momentum going in that direction.
Mm, amazing. You guys are
Awesome.
doing awesome
Yeah.
stuff.
You guys have
Can
built a
you
great place.
I want to hear more about SmileBody. So for a new patient coming in, what can they expect? What is the experience? What are some of these like alternative therapies that you have in there to support the journey?
Well, for us, obviously, number one, as far as working the experience, you know, first of all, we wanted to make an environment that is not the typical dental office. We wanted to make it a environment that represents nature. We wanted to represent the natural of natural to the body, right? So that this was in mind as far as even the architecture, and so we had that going in. We were lucky enough to find a beautiful brand new building right across from where we were before, and we built out half of the first floor for our SmileBody, and that's about 7,000 square feet of space. And our goal was to create something that was going to be in combining medical and dental, as the name says, SmileBody. And what we wanted to do is also incorporate pediatrics, because that was a big component that's missing too. Because for pediatrics, it's not just about cavities, and making them comfortable while you fill their cavities, and try to hopefully do prevention. But for us, it's for these kids, there's a big push on development of their jaws. Airway issues for kids is a big deal. I don't know if you know, but my brother and I are also diplomats in sleep medicine. So sleep apnea is a big deal for us. So we are, we are our pediatric dentist, that Dr. Selke. She is wonderful, because not only do these kids have great experiences, but she is all about development of their jaws so that they have proper airway, because the lack of airway for kids, for example, is a big issue that's overlooked. And for example, it causes physical and developmental issues that again are completely overlooked. ADD, ADHD, a lot of times is related to this same airway obstruction for kids. But so we wanted to make a center that's kind of covers all the bases, and with whether it's the pediatric, and then of course the medical side. Now let's talk about what happens when the patient comes in. Obviously, our goal is to feel the energy when you walk in. So I think most people will always kind of comment on the energy that when you walk into the space. And then from there, obviously, one of our team members gives you a tour of the office, showing the difference in our different parts of the office as far as the dental medical treatment side. We have created a center where we can not only see them and help them through their oral diseases and detoxing them from their toxicities in their mouth and also the children, but we said, you know what, we have to create the medical side. On the medical side, we have a medical director that's an integrative doctor, Dr. Charles Pennick. And also, of course, we have our IV center where we do different kinds of wonderful IVs. Now, these IVs are not just the typical nutritional boosting glutathione and AD IVs. We use, for example, something called the Weber that you guys might be familiar with, the Weber laser, which uses light frequencies for healing at the IV level and topically as well. But this is a great technology that we're actually want to incorporate more so in the biological dentistry world. And we use it for protocols surrounding surgeries and also for the medical side for treating different kinds of toxicities and anti-inflammation, different things that ultraviolet, red, blue, green, these lights can actually have as far as healing. We also do ozone IVs and other things, treatment like that in there. But from there, we have our hyperbaric chamber, different infrared and red light therapies in a room specifically dedicated to that. And also we have an esthetician that is also a biological esthetician treating patients' skin from, but not skin deep, actually from the inside out, actually helping them be healthier and get that beautiful skin that a lot of times, we're looking for. So that we wanted to kind of cover all the bases, but we realized 7,000 square feet is not enough. We need more space. So, so at this point now, after not even a year of being here, we realized we needed more space. But yeah, so that's the idea of what we created. But as it's evolving, it's become a center where, again, it's of collaboration, which was my vision, where different kinds of doctors come and we talk and we actually can collaborate and work on how we can keep moving the needle of what's possible in healthcare.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I want to come visit and get a tour and see all the things you're doing.
You should. People like you and us, that we love this stuff. They call it, people have told me like it's like a Disneyland for us because you get to see all the cool stuff that we like. But yeah, our patient experience is a lot of time with me and Shawn. Shawn and I see every new patient ourselves. We do have other doctors on the team. We have, oral surgeons, periodontists, and a general dentist, and that does the restorative work and so on and so forth. Every new patient Shawn and I see, and we spend a lot of time with them. It's not unusual for us to be with the patient for over an hour and a half, 2 hours, depends on what the patient needs. And during that time, we not only do these kinds of diagnostics like cone beam CT scans, but we spend a lot of time on educating on nutrition, micronutrient levels, supplements even that are a lot of times needed for someone that is going to go through some surgery. For example, let's say they have that infected root canal or that cavitation, the area that in the jawbone that has never healed correctly after wisdom teeth extractions. That, again, it's something that's not even on the radar for anyone really in the medical industry. But it's a chronic source of toxicity in the body. And when we find these sorts of toxicities, yes, we have to do some surgical process, as you just went through, right, with the implants. Now, preparing the body for that healing process, we realize more and more how important it is. Even if someone is healthy like you and eats right and exercises and is on, making sure their vitamin D3, K2, magnesium, zinc, all that is optimized in preparation for something like this. Getting them on some IVs and hyperbarics and preparing the body for healing and after healing. So these are all things that are part of the process. So a lot of times we want patients to start a certain nutritional protocol immediately based on where they are on their health journey and not even do surgery for a while. We want to wait for them to prepare. As Dr. Pompa says, prepare the terrain. And we want to get the body ready for going through something like this. And it's no joke to go through surgery, as you personally know. And it's a lot of stress on the body. So we want to help that along as much as possible. There's a lot of pamphlets and information that we give to patients. A lot of times on this, they're really ready and hungry for it. I tend to overwhelm people with information, but most of our new patients are actually hungry and ready for that. They've already done their research. They've already watched the documentary, The Root Cause, before they come in. That's kind of required viewing before we see them. We try to educate them as much as possible before they come in. And then during that appointment, again, they're their own health advocate. So for us, we're empowering our patients to research and learn. And that's when you get the best benefits, you get the best results. So we spend a lot of time, and then we sit and coordinate after that time with our treatment coordinators, how we're going to make this happen. Of course, there's certain financial burdens a lot of people put off dental treatment because they feel like, oh, I don't have insurance and I don't know how I'm going to do that. They don't realize dental insurance doesn't really even, I call it a scam, to tell you the truth. Dental insurance is, it's not, it should never keep people back. There's financing, we do payment plans. We make it work for patients somehow for them to get to their goal. And not all of our patients are super wealthy or anything like that. They're everyday patients in the community or elsewhere. It's just, if they have a goal, we're helping them get there. That's for sure. And after that, we put a plan together. And a lot of times, treatment day is associated with certain IVs and sedation. And we do a lot of sedation dentistry to make sure that experience of going through something like this is not as stressful as it can be. As you know, again, it's not only physically stressful, emotionally, going into something like this, that emotions we can't take lightly. Emotions, they release certain inflammatory markers in the body. They release, certain toxicities. Our emotions are a factor. So what we want to do is create an environment where the emotions are at peace as well. And just from the moment you walk in, and then definitely surgery day for sure. We want to make sure that it's a calm, comfortable experience. And they have, when we see that, we see patients when they go through that in that calm, comfortable experience, recovery is easier. They actually do better. And it only makes sense. So for us, that's kind of the idea of what a visit would be like overall.
I get that question
Yeah.
a lot, like, oh, it's going to be a scary day, right? I'm like, no, like any good biological dentist is going to make sure your nervous system is supported. Like, I
Yeah.
promise you, it's a good one. And just to comment on the
Yeah.
financial, because I get that question all the time, like, oh, I just invested in the Pampa program. I can't afford the dentistry too. But I'm like, just go get a cone beam. If that's just like the one and only thing that you do, just like open the door to get more information, hopefully. But it does scare people because they associate dental with expensive, unfortunately.
It's not cheap. I have to say it's not cheap. But again, our goal is, if someone's motivated, we find a way. We definitely find a way for them. People think if it's thousand dollars, they have to pay for it up front, and the reality is they don't. But the goal is to get to that new chapter of life, the healthier chapter, and then ultimately, you know, how much money is being spent on stuff that we don't need or want, collecting stuff in your house that you don't really need, but your health is going uh, wayside, and over time it starts catching up. Again, that's, I think, the shift that's happening. Part of the shift is happening. People are realizing that we have to focus on our health. I'm, made my goal this year. One of my goals is like focus on my own health more. And because you get caught up. Last year we had this big build out to do. And I had to give 100% myself into this because I have three little kids at home on top. And so I have, a busy life, and sometimes we have to cut some from somewhere. And a lot of times it's yourself. And for me, it was like, okay, this year I have to, really get focused on meditation and my exercise and everything else. And get my routine back because I had to cut somewhere. And this is life, and there's no judgment. And in life, people you know, you see people every day helping people from the program. And, you know, life catches up to you, and all of a sudden you realize it's 10 years later or 20 years later, and you're not in the shape you used to be, and you neglect yourself. The moms that are just kind of giving always to their families and their kids and their husbands, and they're last. You know, that's a classic model, you know, the mom. And that's always giving. And, you know, you know, we have to bring some balance back, and you know, and take care of ourselves, take care of each other, and that we're just doing our part.
Yeah.
Gotta
Yeah.
fill up
Good
your
for
cup
you.
first.
Practice what you preach, right?
Yeah, of course, of
Yeah.
course. You know
I
that,
know
that
this
means,
is my year of the implant thing. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. And yeah, you have to schedule downtime and preparation time. And I'm getting ready for my next surgery on the 13th. And you'd think I'm training for like a marathon. You know, I'm like, everything, nutrition, sleep, stress, everything is like on point, and peptides, you know, I'm preparing my body for this so that I can heal like Wolverine. So I love that you said that. Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Wolverine, you like
Well,
Wolverine.
yeah. Well, I know we have to let you get back to your patients, but one final question for you. Can you leave our audience with one final piece of advice, something that they should start doing today to optimize their health? Can be dental
Well,
related or not. Totally up to you.
well, you know, I think the most important thing to do is actually start looking at your own health and not ignoring it. I mean, the thing is, we're getting caught up on um, life, right, all the time. But the reality is that whether it's your physical health or your mental health, things that you're just hiding and you don't talk about with other people, a lot of times people come in and they're, you know, their family never knew. A lot of times, they're just been giving to their family and not themselves, and at a noble cause, noble reason. But at the end, the family never knew it was that bad. They and again, and this is not just physical infection. There's toxicity that's coming from here every day in our lives, and the negative self-talk and the anxieties disorders that are also related to this. You know, don't ignore it. There's help, and for me it's like we have to commit. Sometimes it's scary. What if this happens? What we come up with all these reasons of money or otherwise. So we just talked about the money factor, but what if I get in there and the pain, or this there's going to be again, whether you're talking about psychological, neurological, or physical, there's pain associated when you go through something, and you know, it's something that what when you go through it, you come out stronger, you come out better, and you become a better version of yourself, whether it's healthier mentally, physically. And for us, you know, again, this is the time. I like to say this is the time for us as a society to decide to make a difference. And the first people that we have to make a difference with is ourselves, you know, as Michael Jackson's song used to say, right? Uh, Look in the mirror and make a change, right? So,
Oh,
And make that
Man in the Mirror,
change.
one of my favorites. So the thing is, it's you
nice.
have to actually start with yourself. And so easily we're focused on everyone around us and pointing their finger to the people around us. But if we start living our own beliefs completely, living our truth completely, living out our passions completely, living that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just living my passion. You guys see the enthusiasm with me when I'm talking about this stuff. It's just
Oh
because I'm
yeah.
passionate about it. It's
Oh
something
yeah.
that I love. I'm excited to come to work. And if we are, you guys love what you do, right? And more and more people, I think, are just living their passion and they're doing something that they love. I think the world is going to be a much better place.
Amen to
Yes.
that. Yeah. I
Mhm.
can feel your passion through the computer. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And us too, we're like, ooh, we want to tour the dental office. I like want to get everybody that excited about an activity like that.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
would love to for you guys to come by sometimes.
Yeah.
And
Where exactly are you located? I always say LA area, but
LA, it
LA
is the
area.
LA
Okay.
area. It's a
Okay.
little bit
I know
north
it's
of LA. It's Santa Clarita Valley. If
okay.
anyone knows LA, they know where Magic Mountain is, and it seems like it's really far because it's like half an hour north of 45 or 40 minutes north of LA. But it's actually what's great is that it's much easier to get to than going to like downtown LA or Beverly Hills because it's like opposite traffic for me coming up this way. I live in Sherman Oaks myself, and it's a great drive, great community, great people, but it's yeah, it's just a little bit north of LA, and we established out here. My brother started out here over 30 years ago in Santa Clarita Valley. We've kind of evolved over the years, different locations in Santa Clarita until we built this space we're in right now. And yeah, I would love for you guys to come by and give you guys that tour myself. How about that?
Okay.
Oh, that would be
All right.
awesome.
Next
We would
time we're in
love
the
that.
LA area. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
And for anyone listening, if they want to come see you or they want to learn more from you, tell our audience where they can find you.
well, obviously, our socials. I do a lot of videos on this same topics that we're talking about. Every day we have videos that come out. It's my SmileBody, not just SmileBody, but my SmileBody. And the same thing for our website. It's mysmilebody.com. And you can find us there. And we try to, again, for us, education is big. So a lot of information on both those kinds of platforms, socials and website. And for us, again, we're excited to have the opportunity to make a difference.
You absolutely are. Thank you for all that you do. And yeah, and everyone scroll down in the show notes. We'll put all the links so it's easy to find you guys. So,
Awesome.
thank you.
Dr. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to have you back with your brother, who's awesome too. We'll do more because I don't know. We could talk about dental all day long.
Oh, yeah. We could. We love talking about it. Yeah.
And again, thank you for what you guys are doing. Thank you. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Really, it's a big component of all this.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking your lunch break. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. We will see you next time.